two aspects, let's say, very comfort. The terms, if we understand this first understanding the terms, it will be easier. If we go through this essay, you might have understood some part of it, like two psychological forces of humankind. Somewhere two aspects in the literature and philosophy: Apollonianism, intellectuality, and Dionysian passion. So these two, if you look at Apollonianism, it is intellectuality, where we have reason, we have logic, we have rationality, and or Apollonianism that has relation with reason, rationality, or say intellectuality. That is one part. And on the other hand, Dionysianism that is related with passion, with some drunkenness, some emotions. These two forces. These two concepts have been taken from Greek philosophy, Greek society, Greek mythology, because German Friedrich Nietzsche, who is the German thinker, German philosopher of 19th century, and he was quite fearful that changes in attitudes towards religion and science, that would lose a sense of purpose in human life. So that in 19th century there was uh, Friedrich Nietzsche, born in 1844 to 1900, and his philosophy, his questioning, his uh, teachings, let's say, that reveal this religion influence science, human beings or human lives. So these are the talks. His works may largely follow or an effort to construct meaningfulness based upon a deep psychological self-understanding. So understanding the self. He has written the books like the tragedy, the invention of tragedy, the Speak Zarathustra. So where he mainly talks about, he points out the greatest joy that comes from self-understanding. If humans understand themselves, that is the greatest joy. There is self-domination, and also there is self-control as well. Once we understand ourselves, we can control ourselves, we dominate ourselves, we understand ourselves, and that's the greatest joy. He talks this in one of his major work. There are so many works, but regarding the major works, the thus Spake Zarathustra, which he wrote in 1883 to 1892. And there is another very important work or important book, let's say, The Birth of Tragedy, how the tragedy begins, which he wrote in 1872. And from the same book, this Apollonianism and Dionysianism, these two terminologies, these two aspects have their relation. And there is one more uh, regard, or one more connection of Wagner's music, that Friedrich Nietzsche has been much influenced by this Wagner's music as well. Music, science, religion, culture, human tradition, human realities. These are the aspects that Friedrich has written about. The insight of on which the work rests. He has presented this clearly, these two basic realities, two basics of humankind's, let's say, Apollonianism and Dionysianism. These are just taken from Greek mythology or Greek civilization. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's look at this. The Apollonianism and Dionysianism, we can call this Apollonianism, Dionysianism. These are the theories, these are the philosophies. They are philosophical and literary concepts. Philosophical for general understanding, for overall understanding, and also these concepts have a relation with literature, literary aspect as well, art and literature also. And these two concepts presented by a duality. There is a duality, two ways or two strands, two extremes between the figures of Apollo and Dionysus. They are from Greek mythology. Apollo and Dionysus, these are the deities, or these are the gods. They are the son of this in Greek mythology earlier from the ancient Greek. Its popularization is widely attributed. This duality is not only confined in philosophy and literary works. The popularization that was the concept of Apollonianism and Dionysianism. This was not contributed only by Friedrich Nietzsche, though he has written for the first time in The Birth of Tragedy, one of his famous books. And these two terms have already been found by used by other writers and other singers, other historians as well, like the writings of poet Friedrich Hölderlin. This is from German again. He has also talked about these two concepts, Apollonianism and Dionysianism. And historian Jonathan Joachim and Winkelmann and others, they have also discussed about these two terminologies. But Friedrich Nietzsche has talked much about the concept and how their implicability or their practicality, how these concepts have been used in the forms of philosophy, in the forms of literature. He has studied in deep. The word Dionysian occurs, as we can see, look at this root, the history of the Dionysian. This is found in early as 1608 in Edward Topsell's Zoological Treatise. So since then, these have been used. The history of serpents, the concept has since been widely invoked, used, and discussed within the Western philosophy, Western literature, and so on. So these are concepts mainly concerned about Greek mythology or Greek philosophy. These two, Apollonianism and Dionysianism. Uh, Apollonianism or Apollonian beliefs. There are some particular faiths, particular belief system that Apollonians have. Apollonianism asserts that there is no greater truth in the cosmos. In this universe, there is no greater truth. That truth that is not greater than what simply can be observed or what simply can be discovered. The observable, the discoverable truth is the greatest one. Not even there is anything much greater, having much important rule or greater than that. And that science is the key to gaining such knowledge. While understanding science, simply what do you mean by science here? What is mean by science? How do you define science as one of the part of philosophy? What is your definition of science? Not science that we study in as books. What in general is the science? Any idea?
Study of the universe.
If you just if you define that study of universe, that you are limited, that you are going to that say natural science. There is, yeah, that is also science. You have now come to the social aspect. Ekikret just discussed about natural science, and you discussed about social science. So again, science means science has its terms, aspects. social science and natural science. Again, this science simply means the systematic understanding, the systematic knowledge, the systematic acquiring of anything. If you understand accountancy, economics, English, or any language or culture, that is also science. Scientific study means the systematic study. It is always systematic. It always believes on proof. Uh, it must have proof. It does not go haphazardly. It has system, mythology, that it is not mythology. There is some observation, there is some discovery, there is some let's say system that has been established. So that's science here, and science is the key to gain such knowledge, to gain such understanding, to gain such truth, which is even valuable. For this, we need reason. For this, we need logic. We need rationality. You logic something somebody said, then you use your logic. Without your logic, without your reason, without your rationality, you do not believe on it. So, what Apollonian believes on this science. Similarly, just as the philosophers of ancient times, in ancient times there were no scientists. The philosophers were scientists, and the scientists were philosophers as well. They were synonymously being described. They were the scientists of their day. In the past, in ancient times, there were no such labs as present we have in present day. They too must have following their footsteps, and they turn modern science for our answers today as well. So they just used their science, they used their conscience, yes, logic, reason, rationality, and based on this, they discovered whole universe. They discovered human society. They discovered human culture. Like Friedrich Nietzsche, also the scientist, is also the philosopher. He has answered so many questions related to culture, related to religion, related to human behaviors, related to human mind, human sufferings, human reality, and so on. So, as he wrote the book, the beginning of tragedy, or the let's say this the birth of tragedy, which he wrote in 1872, that earlier, almost 200 years back, 2000 years back. So look at 200. And reason, logic, and creativity must be cultivated. These are the parts of science. You must have reason, logic, and creativity. There must be cultivation. They must be cultivated if we are to progress as a technologically advanced species. As humans, we say we are in the modern time. We can implement this logic here as well. There must be reason whether it works or not, whether it is feasible to humanity or not. Logic, their creativity, and yet without some form of spirituality, we are left empty and cold. And this spirituality is another part. Science only is not sufficient. There must be the coinage, there must be the interlinkage of spirituality with along with reason, logic, and creativity as well. Otherwise, we are incomplete. Whatever Apollonians believe, these are simply their beliefs, and simply we can understand that there is no greater truth in the cosmos, simply that we can beyond than we observe or we discover. And science is the key for gaining such understanding, such knowledge. Regarding science, in the past, philosophers in the ancient were the scientists, and we have been following their footsteps. We have been reading Friedrich Nietzsche even today because of his contribution in social science, not only natural science, that physics, chemistry, and so on, but also in human relation, human culture, human society as a whole. Mohit, are you there? Kizain, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Reason,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Okay, reason, logic, and creativity, these must be cultivated, but at the same time, to progress as advanced species like human species, or of course we are, and we must be technologically, we must adhere, follow the spirituality. Otherwise, we become incomplete, or there is no progress at all. What Apollonians believe. Nietzsche's opinions, or he opines that. Hope the slide is visible. The screen is shared. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Such opposite features in these two gods, as we discussed, the two gods, Apollo and Dionysus, they are the two gods in Greek mythology. They have the opposite features. And from this, Friedrich Nietzsche made a theory that there are Apollo-like as well as Dionysus like qualities in humans. Even in a single human, there are the qualities of Apollo and Dionysus both. Apollo and Dionysus like qualities found everywhere in the human world. In every society, in every human world, these qualities are found there. So all the qualities of Apollo are called Apollonianism, and all the qualities that belong to Dionysus are called Dionysianism. These Apollonianism and Dionysianism are the sciences. They are the strands, but containing those qualities of Apollonianism and Dionysianism, these are important to understand. So what comes in Apollonianism and what comes in Dionysianism, that's important here. Like such contradiction qualities means in Apollo we have different qualities like reason, like logic, like rationality. On the other hand, we have the qualities in Dionysianism like immorality, just drunkenness, or just emotionality. So these are two opposite features. He says, Friedrich Nietzsche supposed here, such contradiction qualities are found everywhere, every society, every art, every piece of art. So we can implement this into artistic art as well. So they are psychological forces, because these are guided. By these humans are guided. Their psychology is guided, or their psychology is forced, alternatively dominating individual mind. In some minds, there are more qualities of Apollonianism. In some minds, there are some more qualities of Dionysus or Dionysianism. The culture as well as art and the artist. An artist has also both qualities. Culture has both qualities. Society has both qualities. An individual has both qualities. But somewhere they are, one of them is in dominant position. One is dominating an individual, one is dominating in art, one is dominating in culture, let's say. So whatever Nietzsche believes. And based on these two philosophies, he studied the Greek society earlier in the ancient earlier. He says, human mind is sometimes Apollonianism and sometimes Dionysianism. The same human mind is changed. Even a culture is at the same rate, or even a culture is the product of both. Means a culture shares both Apollonianism and Dionysianism. This is his theory. So how does he describe this? We'll discuss it later. Not only the culture, like an artist, we read drama, we watch drama, we read some arts or piece of arts. Also in them as well, we find them, because this is already existed in the society, in the culture. Even an artist can be either Apollonian or Dionysus art. Apollonian art or Dionysius art, because of an artist, or because of his writing. Apollo and Dionysius are art sponsoring gods. Because of them, they are art sponsoring gods, because the person has been determined, or person has been dominated by those qualities. The Apollonian art is plastic, flexible, while Dionysian art is non-plastic. That is one difference between Apollonianism and Dionysianism regarding the implicability or regarding the use of these two philosophies in art, in the case of art. In the art, that means art is the product of society. Art is determined by the social norms, values, culture, and so on. The person and persons dominating psychology as well. The naive art is the non-plastic. He says it is. These are all Nietzsche's viewpoints. The duality, this dualistic combination. There is dualistic combination means combination of both Apollonianism and Dionysianism. These both qualities are there, with balance between Apollonianism and Dionysianism. We call that non-plastic or naive art, which there is a good combination of both qualities. Or in other words, what Nietzsche says that the balance of Apollonianism as well as Dionysianism in an art makes it as the credit example of the best art. Best art is created, or best art we can get best art. Sometimes we choose the writers. We choose the writers uh, based on their balancing of these qualities. So he says tragedies as the example of naive art, that he wrote the birth of tragedy, and in that there is one very nice interesting video, but due to time we cannot watch this right now or today. Their tragedies as the examples of naive art, as in these tragedies, there is dualistic balance between Apollonianism and Dionysian qualities. So that's why in tragedies, in drama, we look sometimes, we find this mixture. And even if you look at only the comedy, that is even not good, because human society uh, has been combined with these tragedies and comedies, or happiness and sadness. So tragedies are the best examples of such naive or non-plastic art regarding the use of art. As I said earlier, this theory, this philosophy will be looked with the relation with art, with culture, uh, any culture in the ancient or modern one, any society, or any piece of art. Art means music as well. Art means drama also. Art means any piece of literature as well. So just be clear on these things. Then an artist, what does an artist do? The artist, according to Nietzsche, he says, artist must have some reconciliation, and such reconciliation between Apollonian and Dionysus quality gives birth not only to the best art, but also to the best cultural development as well. If such art is generated, published, then that gives the space to the best culture in the society. Best culture is developed, not only the best art, that whatever highlights balancing those qualities of human realities, human sufferings, human tragedies related to society or culture. These are his viewings. So just in short, Nietzsche finds that human qualities contain both Apollonianism and Dionysianism. Both qualities inherit in the humans. Both qualities inherit in the society. Both qualities inherit in the any piece of the art or any society. So there is combination, and balancing them is the role of any artist. Next. What actually does he know? He described regarding Apollonianism and Dionysianism as one of the philosophy. He's regarding these two, combining these two, looking at these two dichotomies, as we said, two different viewpoints. How does he study them in one philosophy? Nietzsche has presented serious concept of two forces. And these two forces means Apollonianism and Dionysianism. These forces prevalent in human world, any world, anytime, not in any particular time, anytime, anywhere, any culture, any society. So these two are the prevalent forces. And he comes from the word, these two words, Apollonianism and Dionysianism, as we discussed, they come from the word Apollo and Dionysus. These are the names of gods worshipped by Greek people. And these two gods represent two different qualities. So these qualities, what do they mean? Apollo stands for beauty. Apollo stands for order. Apollo stands for harmony. This for love, progress, serenity, calmness, and individualism. So all good virtues, good qualities, good aspects uh, is represented that inherit in the god Apollo in Greek mythology. On the other hand, Dionysus stands for ugliness, immorality, disorder, hatred, passion, emotion, intoxication, and the groups. So Apollo, individualism. What am I doing? Am I using my order, my logic, myself? But on the other hand, Dionysus stands all related to these qualities. But again, these are the qualities inherent in every society, inherent in every human, inherent in even in they are represented by the gods. So we can understand this. These two are the dichotomy. Yes, dichotomies means two different strands. They are based on certain features of ancient Greek mythology, though they have equally some relation with any of generalization. We can generalize this of any society, any other humans, or not only they are confined, though they are taken from Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, whatever the mythology says is Apollo and Dionysus are both sons of Zeus. We simply know as Zeus. And these two, Apollo is the god of the sun, which Apollo is the god of the dreams. Apollo is the god of reason. Sun means lightness, beauty, it's serenity, let's say. While Dionysus is the god of wine, intoxication, castracy, and these qualities they inherit in another god, Dionysus. On the other hand, these qualities that they inherit in Apollo. So this is what he comes with these two, just relating these two with any individual, any society, any culture, and so on. Anusa Joshi, are you there? Not consider the two gods to be opposites or rivals. If we take them rivals, we look them separately. That is not the case. They are not opposites. If we look at follow only one, then we remain incomplete, because already there are the mixture. Already there are the combination of both in any particular society, culture, religion, human, whatever, or art, or any piece of art. So his Nietzsche's major promise is the fusion of this Dionysian and Apollonian, or his fusion of these two dichotomies. Artistic impulses forms dramatic art or tragedies. Dramatic arts or tragedies means these two forces, these two impulses, these two needs, let's say, because of reason, you have logic, you have some passion, then you write. Without passion, do you write? Without emotion, do you write? Without getting into intoxication, do you write? No. So sometimes we have heard that Lakshmi Prasad Devkota used to smoke, and then he used to sit for writing. So this just leading this is only reference that is not relating to this one. So any order that is activated by this emotion and passion as well. If you do not have passion, do you love to someone? Do you progress? If you do not have intoxication, do you remain, let's say, do you have some order? Do you have some understanding of other qualities? So not. That's why these artistic impulses, they form any dramatic arts and tragedies as well. So this is there begins the birth of tragedy, according to Nietzsche. And this fusion has not been achieved since the ancient Greek tragedians. The works of these are again mythological character. The works of some mythological characters, some real characters, like the works of Aeschylus and Sophocles. Sophocles, these are great. They represent the apex of artistic creation. That means they represent the true realization of tragedy. It is with Euripides. He hates, Nietzsche hates, that tragedy begins its decline, deterioration, downfall, death. If there is good quality, then of course there is less severity of Dionysius qualities. Or if there are more Dionysius qualities, of course there are less regarding the Apollonianism or Apollonianistic characteristics. Nietzsche objects to Euripides' use of Socratic rationalism. Socrates has used that Socratic rationalism, and he objects this. And in his tragedies, in this The Birth of Tragedy, what Nietzsche views that, what Nietzsche says, he claims that the infusion of ethics and reason robs tragedy. If you have reason, if you have ethics, if you have morality, if you have Apollonianistic qualities, then it robs tragedy of its foundation. There is less use of Dionysius qualities. So, namely the fragile balance of Dionysianism and Apollonianism. So, there must be some sorts of fragile balance between these two. Apollonianism and Dionysianism are terms used by Nietzsche in The Birth of Tragedy, which he wrote in 1872. The Birth of Tragedy, one of the major work. You can please, if you have time, you can just click on YouTube as well, look at The Birth of Tragedy. Very interesting video there. To design it, the two central principles in Greek culture. And here remember that this is no more only limited to Greek culture. This has some relation with other cultures as well. The Birth of Tragedy. The Apollonian corresponds to the principle of individualization or individuation. This principle of individuation means that is related to individualism. Me, I, my, let's say, these are things. The basis of all analytic distinctions and everything that is part of unique individuality of man or of anything is Apollonian in character. So we say, if you say I, me, or for individualistic perspective, then you have this Apollonianistic character. You are Apollonian in character, in your character performance. And under Apollonian character, we have all types of form or structure in Apollonian, since form serves to define or individualize that which is formed. Like he has given the case of sculpture is the most Apollonian of the arts, since it relies entirely on form for its effect. Rational thought is also Apollonian, since it is structured and makes distinctions. If you have rational thought, if you have rationality, then rationality is the part of Apollonian, or rationality is the part of individualism, because this rational thought is your individualistic attribute, quality. On the other hand, the Dionysian is directly opposed to the Apollonian. As we have already discussed, these are the dichotomies. Dionysian is different than Apollonian, or opposed to the Apollonian or Apollonianism. Drunkenness is the part of Dionysian, Madness is the part of Dionysian. Irrationality is the part of Dionysian, and they break down a man's individual character. So look at intoxication. If we look at the human as the aspect here, or humanity, if we look at this Dionysian to the human aspect, madness, intoxication, irrationality, drunkenness, illogic, yes, they kill humans, or they break down the humans' freedom, humans' character. This is not good, but still in each human these qualities also inherited there. Further, he says all forms of enthusiasm and ecstasy are, if you are enthusiastic, if you have ecstasy, if you have emotions, intoxication, lure to something, these are the qualities. These are all forms of Dionysian. And these Dionysian qualities, for in such states, man gives up his individuality. He forgets himself. Sometimes we have seen so many cases, and if these qualities are in supreme, they are support, they are, let's say, dominating the other qualities. A human or a man gives up means abandons his individuality, forgets his individuality, forgets his logic, rationality, and he submerges himself in a greater whole. Means he says, from I to, or my to us, I to me to we. So he forgets, and this forgetting is also important for common good. Individuality that is submerged, and he himself stands in as a greater whole, not as individualistic part only. Music is the most Dionysian of the arts. There are so many different forms of arts, but music is one of the most Dionysian of the art. If you go through this birth of tragedy, then you will find out that interesting part of this music there as well. So he says, since it appeals directly to man's inherent instinctive, chaotic emotions, and not to his formally reasoning mind. His formally reasoning mind is the part of Apollonianism, but music can change that human mind. These chaotic emotions and these instinctive desires, music can appeal directly. That's why we are surrendering ourselves to the music, and nobody is saying, nobody is fed up with the music. What can you see as the first line here, first point?
Nietzsche believed that both forces were present in the Greek tragedy.
Okay, thank you. Not in Greek tragedy, every tragedy, human tragedy as a whole, though he just studied in Greek society or Greek aspect, but equally applicable to us, to others. And that the true tragedy that could only be produced by the tension between them. If you have love to someone, if you have passion, you have love and passion both, then there is a tragedy. That tragedy begins there. So there is tension, there is conflict between Apollonianism and Dionysianism qualities, whatever Nietzsche believes. And he used the names Apollonianism and Dionysianism, or Dionysian, for the two forces, because Apollo as the sun god, or that represents light, clarity, that represents form. Dionysianism represents substance, and Apollonianism refers to the form. That substance is represented into form. So whereas Dionysius as the wine god is represented in the Greek mythology, that represents drunkenness and ecstasy. If you are drunk, what happens, what emotions, what intoxication, and so on. So we can look at this from individual case to the social, cultural, artistic case. Friedrich Nietzsche used the term in his book The Birth of Tragedy to describe one of the two opposing tendencies or elements in Greek tragedy. He has used that from the base of Greek tragedy, Greek mythology. The Apollonian attributes are reason, culture, harmony, restraint. No, this is not good. For me, for my individual purpose, I have to use my reason, or in any aspect, you have this logic, you have this reason as well. In any culture, this is true, this is not. We have rationality, we have morality, we have moral values, we have ethics, and Apollonian attributes them. On the other hand, these are opposed to the Dionysian characteristics of excess, irrationality, lack of discipline, chaos, confusion, unbridled passion, and so on. There are so many such aspects that are the part of Dionysianism. Further, this Greek tragedy was the result of fusion of Dionysianism and Apollonianism elements, and there took the birth of tragedy. The two elements of tragedy, as Nietzsche says, are Apollonian, related to Greek god Apollo. Here he has used as a symbol of measured restraint, and the Dionysian from Dionysus, the Greek god of ecstasy, the Greek god of ecstasy, Greek god of wine. So his conception of Apollonianism is the equivalent of what Schopenhauer called individual phenomenon, the particular chance, error, or man, the individuality of which is mere a mask for the essential truth of reality which it conceals. So his Nietzsche's this Apollonianism or individuation is equivalent with Schopenhauer's individual phenomenon. They are similar in this aspect. The Dionysian ecstasy, as Nietzsche has defined, is experienced in Greek philosophy or Greek mythology, not as individual. This is not individual, this is common, but as the one living being with whose creative joy we are united. It is for us, it is not for me. Dionysian ecstasy is for us. If we come beyond from that individualization, then you come into the joy of living for us, as united. So the drama's exhibition, he gives a very good example here of the phenomena of suffering individuals, Apollonian elements, forces upon the audience, the struggle there, the pain, the destruction of phenomena, which in turn communicates the exuberant fertility of the universal. That pain, the suffering, the struggle, if you look at that destruction, then you come to know this is the universal aspect there that communicates that you generalize. The spectators then become audience. We become one with the infinite primordial joy in existence, and we anticipate further what would go further, the indestructibility, the eternity of the joy, of this joy. And finally, Nietzsche says there is a desire to see tragedy and at the same time to get beyond all seeing. Not only we want to see tragedy, we want to go beyond that, the reason, the logic, the morality of that. We look at very many things, we go beyond seeing all this to hear, and at the same time we long to get beyond all hearing. So not only we confine in hearing, there we use our logic, we use our reason, and we go beyond that because of Apollonianism qualities. So if you are, whatever you are listening, you are going beyond that. We have 4 minutes left. Okay. Nietzsche also describes that Apollo and Dionysus are also the gods related to individual and a throng or move or common or group, let's say. Apollo is the god of individual because individual is dominated by Apollonian qualities such as order, harmony, intellect, intellectuality we have said. On the other hand, the throng or the mob or the collective means group or mass, is related to Dionysus. And this Dionysus qualities such as intoxication after we are intoxicated with ideology, we are intoxicated with some sorts of medicine or some thought process as well. Passion, chaos, disorder, these are connected with the collective. These are common. Not your reason is not common, may not be common, but this chaos, confusion, passion, intoxication, these are common, and these are the Dionysius qualities. Generally, when an individual is alone, he is in the collective, he becomes passionate and intoxicated as if he has drunk wine. So he loses his personal identity, and then he behaves differently, like a maddened person, and he behaves mysteriously. So Nietzsche calls that there is mystical experience. After a person gets intoxicated, there is a mystical experience in any individual. What Nietzsche views. This is in the collective form. So why the mass or the collective behaves so mysteriously is really a surprising. How does mass behave this or behave him or her? This is surprising, but Nietzsche says that it is because of Dionysius dominating the collective. There is Dionysius, there is intoxication, there is Dionysius ability or that quality that has been dominated in that person. Or during intoxication, the same Dionysius skill or Dionysius, let's say, quality that has been dominating us. As a collective or the throng is associated with god Dionysus, it is so mystical intoxication. Nietzsche also describes about dream and illusion. His further aspect is describing of dream and illusion, and he even connects them with Apollonianism and Dionysianism. As long as the dream concerns, regarding the dream, he says there are real dream and there are daydreaming as well. So we are living in the daydreaming. He views daydreaming is a fantasy. It is imaginary world, but it is the world of perfection. That is reality. If we are in the daydreaming, that is the perfection. That is completeness. Even in the real dreaming, when we have some real dreaming as well, we enter the fantasy world. Sometimes just going beyond your horizon of your axis, you have this real dream, and then you are just wandering there in the fantasy or fantasy world, which is also perfect world. Fantasy is that fantasy seemingly incomplete, but this is complete. This is perfection. That is a perfect world. The world of reality is imperfect. What Nietzsche views is the world of reality is imperfect. And he says Greek artists loved dream more than reality. This is important point. Artists, they loved dream more than reality. They wrote on fantasy, living, losing the reality. And they claimed that in the dream world, they could get the vision of the gods and goddess to whom they worshipped. Some worshipped one god, some worshipped another god. The reality is different. They just believed on images. The reality is something different. And he says the world of reality is imperfect. Even God Apollo appeared in their dream and inspired them to create art. It is perhaps because of the dream vision. There is dream vision. The Greek artists were able to create a picture of deities, gods, maybe because of the inspiration of the deities in the dream. Might have they been influenced by the deities in their dream, and they followed them accordingly. They were able to create best art. Therefore, dream is not real, but the Greek artist, it was better and more realistic than the reality. So this is whatever Greek artists did, they performed, they adhered to the society, they wrote, what are their artistic performances. He also talks about this, and finally he concludes that dream is not real, but the Greek artist, it was better and more realistic than the reality. So further also we have some more discussion. We'll go into that illusion and some rhetorics in our next class. This much for today. Are there any questions? Just let me take screenshot of your attendance as well.
Apollonianism represents everything good, every quality of God Apollo, and what was that other? This
Dionysianism.
Dionysianism represents everything negative and all the qualities of the god Dionysus.
Okay.
And the
Say
writer
say not everything negative. Just there are some passion. Some passion is good for as well. If you do not have passion, then you are not lured or to the beauty also. But you are true. Yes, you are right in the sense there are some intoxication, irrationality, some just some such qualities also. They are negative as well. So further we'll have discussion tomorrow as well on the topic. Please, if you have read half of the essay, complete half more, and come with some discussion questions as well. Raise some questions during the class. If we discuss more, we become more clearer. Okay. So thank you very much. Come with some more questions in our next class.